You wear many hats. You're a wrestler, you're a fitness entrepreneur, you're a boxer, you're a Strictly Come Dancing reality TV star, you're an actor. If you had to give an elevator pitch of who Anthony Ogogo is, how would you describe yourself?
Oh mate, I really struggle with that. I'm kicking as hard as I can, I'm swimming as hard as I can to keep my head afloat.
How do you stay focused on the biggest fight of your life when your world personally is falling apart?
I don't know how I did it. So my mum had a brain aneurysm 5 weeks before, and I'm panicking thinking, fuck, this is the call where they tell me she's dead.
The misinterpretation people have when they talk about mental health, they think it's the absence of negative emotion. It's the absence of stress. How can I be happier?
Then there's the balance of being happy with what you've got, and I struggled with this for a while as well. Being happy with what you've got, being grateful for what you've got, but still wanting more.
I always forgo the traditional podcast intro question, and I normally just get stuck into it. But so Anthony, I normally, on most shows I've done, 170 episodes, and I always forgo the traditional podcast intro question, and I normally just get stuck into it. But you wear many hats. You're a wrestler, you're a fitness entrepreneur, you're a boxer, you're a Strictly Come Dancing reality TV star, you're an actor. If you had to give an elevator pitch of who Anthony Ogogo is, how would you describe yourself?
Oh mate, I really struggle with that. I honestly, because I'm just me, and I don't know what, and that's not very fun or exciting. But I think I'm most well known for winning the medal at the Olympic Games in boxing. But even that's not like that being my tagline annoys me, because my Olympic medal was won. My mum was in hospital, having that brain aneurysm. We thought she was going to die. My shoulder was hanging off. I had tears in both my Achilles tendons. I had a broken rib. And I won a medal, but like that's too much. That's too mouthful. I say Olympic medal. People go, "Oh, that's good." And I think that's not fucking. If you knew what I was dealing with, it's great. Do you know what I mean? But no, I don't know. I'm kicking as hard as I can. I'm swimming as hard as I can to keep my head afloat. And I think that's what we're all doing, isn't it? You know, we're all doing it in different kind of like varying levels of success, but it's tough out there. It's a struggle, and I'm just trying to struggle and persevere and smile and have as much fun on this short little life we have.
I don't think that's a boring answer at all, because I think if you listen to everybody, everyone's got a lot of things in their personality toolbox, right? No one is just, I'm not just a personal trainer or an educator. I'm a pro wrestling fan. You know, this is the reason why I know you probably more so than boxing. You know, I'm a rugby fan. I'm a son and things like this. Everyone is different. And I think that's quite unique about your content, that it's not just about your fitness app. It's not just about your boxing career. It's not just about your wrestling career. So going into what you think people know you most for, and that's boxing. When it comes to training for the Olympics, I can't imagine anything more all-encompassing than training for the Olympics. Like, how is that process for somebody who might be watching this who is sitting on the sofa watching the end product? What is the 4 years prior to like?
Mate, it's not even the 4 years. And these are great questions off the bat. It's not even 4 years. It's a lifestyle. It's a life. It's not a 4 years training for Olympic Games. You've got to become the best junior in the country. That's hard work. You'll win many national titles to do that. You've got to become the best senior. So all the juniors of every year, they become seniors at some point. You've got to be the best of them. And then you've got to get on the England squad. Then for the England squad, the GB squad, or the GB boxing squad. On the GB boxing squad, you've got 2 or 3 lads at each weight, 2 or 3 English people, maybe a Scottish person, a Welsh person. You know, so you've got maybe like 1 or 4 or 5 boxers. Then you've got to be number 1 GB boxer. So then when you have a number 1 GB boxer, I was talking to a friend of mine today, my physio, and this weekend coming is the Olympic qualifier, and in athletics. And athletics, you send 2 or 3 each discipline, 2 or 3 go. You got to get the qualifying time. If you don't make the qualifying time, they can pick 2 or 3. That's not like that in boxing. In boxing, you've got to qualify, right? You got to qualify. So in the Olympic Games, I believe each demographic, each geographical area, region gets 8 boxers per weight category. And Europe is by far, I mean, Cubans are great. Cubans are really good. Americans are decent. Kazakhstanis are really good. But Europe has the best boxers by far. The Russians, the Brits, the Ukrainians, Azerbaijanis, Armenians, Lithuanians, like Irish are really good. So like, it's really hard to qualify. You've got to be top 8 in Europe to qualify over 2 tournaments, of the World Championships or the European Olympic qualifier. And then you go. Then you go to the Olympic Games. then you're fighting the best of the best. And it's hard, mate. Training for the Olympics, but the 4 years up into it, so it's on the GB squad. It's arrive on a Monday, afternoon time. I'd wake up and run myself on a Monday morning. On a Monday, it's normally a bag and pad session, so hitting the bag, hitting the pads, all the rocky stuff. And then on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're the same. Wake up early, run, come back, stretch, recover. And then lunchtime, or late morning, it was a shadow box technique session. So what I would do, if I've boxed somebody, a lot of analysis as well, right? So like a lot of watching tape, because that's training in itself. Watching tape, studying, learning. I love that side of things. I loved it. So we do a tech shadow boxing session. So three 3-minute rounds. So 9 minutes, really short, really sharp. And then you're boxing, either the coach is at the time giving you an imaginary opponent to box, or your own one in your own head. So it's short, sharp, and it's hard. We'll go down for a weights session, and then go back to have some lunch, and then come back in the afternoon, and that's the hardcore boxing session. That's the skipping, that's the bags, that's the pads, that's the sparring session. Normally we spar to start when you're fresh. That's the quality work, and then hitting the bag, hitting the pads, doing the groundwork, exercises and stuff. And then in the evening, I was always good at my weight. So in the Olympics, I boxed at 75 kilos, 11 stone 10. And then we had a 5% limit. You had to come in you had to stay within 5% of your weight. So I couldn't go over 78.5 kilos. If you were over your 5%, you come back in the evening and sit on the bike or skip and do what you got to do to shed some pounds. But on Thursday or Friday, whenever we would leave, we'd wake up in the morning, we'd do a strongman run. The strongman run was, we had a 200-meter indoor track downstairs at Sheffield EIS, the English Institute of Sport. Then in the middle, we'd have like med balls, sled, all the hard stuff. A lap in, heavy work on there, a lap, and can't do that over and over and over again. And then that would just bollocks us. It's really, really hard. Then in the afternoon, late morning, we'd spar, maybe like an hour and a half rest, and then jump in the car and drive back home. Have a day off at home, back the next week. I would also do a lot of training camps. We'd go to Bourget in France, go to Kazakhstan, go to Russia. In Russia, 3 times for camps, 2 times for competitions. Training camps where it's like sparring against like the people you're boxing against. It's hard, mate. Took a lot over those years. I took a lot of punches to the head. It's hard, man, against the best boxers in the world. And the thing about amateur boxing, right, quote unquote, Olympic boxing, Olympic boxing. Commonwealth, Europeans, Worlds, everyone's the best. I mentioned earlier, like, you got to be the best as a junior, then a senior, then in your country. So you're boxing the best of the best. Every fight, even if you fight a Moldovan, I fought a Moldovan and I beat him, but God, they're just strong. They just punch hard. They hurt, right? So like, even a Moldovan will give you a hard fight, whereas when you turn pro, most of the time you fight bums. I shouldn't say bums. You fight enhancement talent, as we say in wrestling, to make you look good. And then you have competitive fights, of course. But in the Olympics or in amateur international boxing, every fight's a hard fight. So, yeah, man, difficult days, hard days, but some of the best days of my life.
Well, why was boxing the sport? Like, I can't imagine personally volunteering to get punched in the face. I can't understand that mentality. What is it about that was appealing to you?
Mate, there's nothing else like it. There's nothing else. We chatted earlier. Off camera and talk about wrestling. I love to walk out the curtain, hear that noise and the buzz of the crowd. That's amazing, and I love it. It comes second to having a really hard fight and you win, and that pure emotion, especially when you're fighting for your country as well. Olympic Games, there's it's the grandest stage of them all. It's not WrestleMania, it's the Olympic Games, right? The granddaddy of them all. But looking back now, listen, I grew up in a house full of women, mum, 4 sisters, and that's not normal. That's not the normal background for a boxer, for a fighter. But also, we had a very difficult upbringing. It was really hard. My mum did an amazing job with me and my sisters, but life was hard growing up, and I had a lot of anger, and I'm rubbish at a million things. I've always been good at sport. I've always been fit. I always work really hard, and I've always been quite smart, very intelligent. So that's the ingredients to make a great boxer. And I played football to a high level. I swam at a high level. I played rugby to a high level. I was just that kid that good at sports.
Yeah.
Shit at loads of things, but good at sports. And then I found boxing when I was 12 years old. And then when I first walked into the gym, I hoped I'd be good because I was good at everything else I did, sport-wise. So I hoped I'd be good, but there's no guarantees. But when I walked into that gym, I was like, this is me now. This is, I for the first time in my life, I felt at home. And yeah, I mean, you talk about, so it's funny in the mentality. You were like, I think you said you wouldn't never volunteer getting punched in the head. Whereas me, I'm like, I talked to my agent about this last night. I said, all of a sudden, you get told off as a kid for hitting people. Don't hit your sister. You can't hit Johnny at school. I know, you know. Then I go to boxing and I hit people, and rather than getting told off, I'm getting commended. I'm getting, well on, from my coaches, do it again, double jab, for the body shot. I'm getting instant gratification, and then when I win a title, I get my name in the newspaper, I get my name on TV, I get trophies, I get money eventually. It's like, wow, it's mad. It's like, and I couldn't believe as a kid, I'm allowed to do this. And I'm hitting people, getting all my frustration, a lot of anger as a kid, and I get commended for it. I get well done rather than reprimands. This is unbelievable. But yeah, boxing, it is. I think I'd been good at any sport I did. Boxing just really appealed to me, and it ticked a lot of boxes for me.
Do you think that you were saying about like that differences of you almost liking being punched in the face and me absolutely not wanting to be punched in the face? Do you think that's why that rush of winning a boxing match is more? Because there's adrenaline in every sport, right? And yeah, I got hit in rugby a bunch. But if I played tennis, an individual sport, and I'm sure it's a rush winning Wimbledon, I'm not taking anything away. But when you have that adrenaline rush, it's probably amplified by that fear of being punched in the face and getting hurt. Does that make it more?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think it's the getting punched. I think it's somebody else to come on to in a minute. Yeah. Just to clarify, I wasn't saying, but I don't like getting punched in the face. I hate getting punched.
I suppose the goal is not to get punched in the face.
Yeah. You get some boxers go, I don't mind getting hit. You're just a fucking idiot, mate. You shouldn't want. I used to hate getting hit. So when I used to get hit, I felt I was embarrassed. I got embarrassed, right? And you know when you get hit, especially when you're the home boxer or your friends and family are there, when you get hit, it's silence, and that silence is deafening, and it's horrible. And I got embarrassed. I didn't like getting hit, and I took it as a personal insult. Like, I'm not good at my job, and I hated getting hit, even in sparring. Although you try, you get hit in sparring because you practice things. That's the place to try things, to practice things. Of course, you can get hit. You know, they say you don't go swimming and can't get wet. You don't go boxing and not get hit. You're gonna get hit. It's about, my old coach would say to me, "You're gonna get hit. It happens. I don't get upset about it. So always get wound up." But he said it's your job not to get hit with that same punch again. Yeah. So if you get me with a jab, that's the last jab you're gonna hit me with. I'm gonna block it. I'm gonna slip. I'm gonna parry. Talking about the emotion and the adrenaline, I don't know if you've ever done boxing, or I don't know if anybody else has done, but people that do boxing say it's the hardest training, and it's the hardest training in the world, mate. It's hard. You can get, I always say Mo Farah. I've got to find somebody else now because Mo's been retired for a while, but you can get Mo Farah on the pads with me for 5 rounds, he'll be gassed. Yeah. Because he's like an Olympic champion at numerous disciplines, right? And he's super fit. Because it's just it's different.
It's a different energy system entirely, right?
And also, not just that, yes, but also, when you're hitting, that's just on the pads, hitting the bag, you get gassed. When someone's hitting you back, mate, that when you're getting hit, people don't think, but when you get hit, it doesn't hurt like you bang your knee. When they say in boxing, where you hurt, it's a different kind of hurt. But when you get hit in boxing, it takes it out of you. Then when you miss, when you throw a bunch of mist, it takes it out of you. It's hard. It's a whole different energy system, and it's really taxing on your body. But the reason why you get that thrill and everything, because it's not predetermined. You have no idea what's going to happen going in, and you put so much into it: the training, the dieting, the early nights for early mornings, and it's relief that you've done it. And there's nothing like it. So yeah. I mean, when Wimbledon would be unbelievable. Wrestling is really fun. I love it. It's really fun. But that fight, when it's so close, I had numerous fights, and they were nip and tucks. They were and I won by a point or won on a count back when the points were level. And when the referee lifts your arm up, mate, if you could bottle and sell that feeling, mate.
So going into the training, so you're saying that the training's the hardest kind of training. When it came to the resistance training component of that, obviously you outlined very much what the conditioning and the skill and the technique work. How did that look? Was there any specificness to boxing in your weight training, and how intense and high volume was it? Because weight training, especially for boxing as well, you need to be strong. You need to have a decent amount of muscle mass, and you can only grow as much muscle mass as you can recover from. But it doesn't sound like you had much chance to recover. So what did the actual weight room sessions look like?
So I again, the old adage, if I knew then what I knew now, I retired, my career was ravaged by injury. 3 shoulder dislocations, Achilles problems, other things than the eye curtailed my career. The eye was just really bad luck, but the muscle and the soft tissue that injuries I had, again, I spoke to my physio about this today. He missed out on the 1984 Olympics as a 400-meter hurdler because we said the exact same conversation. He back then in the 80s, he lifted with the lifters, with the shot putters. He did plyo work with the high jumpers and the long jumpers. He did his speed work with the sprinters. 400 meters is kind of like everything. He did his stamina work with the middle distance runners, and that's the same as me. In the GB squad, I was in the heavyweight group. So middleweight, they did you in groups. The smaller weights for medium kind of size weights. I was middleweight, so it should have been 64, 69, 75 kilos. And then the heavies were light heavy, 81 kilos, heavy, 91 kilos, super heavy, 91 plus. But Obed Wakongo was lazy, and he was a light heavy, and I was the opposite to lazy. So we switched. I said, can I go with... So I was in the group with Anthony Joshua, Simon Valili, and me. We were the heavy group. So I switched with Obed to the light heavyweight. Because I lifted, because I just like to lift. I like to work hard. And knowing what I do now, I trained far too hard. I'm sure, I presume... So I know now they use heart rates monitors, and they use like recovery stuff. So they're more up to speed with things. But back when I was on the squad, we were high tech because we had Man United's nutritionist, and he gave us protein shakes after training. Like that was cutting edge. That was cutting edge, right? Boxing I often say is a dinosaur sport.
Well, a lot of things like recovery stuff, like HRV, which is now really, really popular in most sort of sports, and certainly in MMA. The ability to take HRV, you needed huge machines only 10 years ago. Now you can get it on your wrist and you can get it in a chest strap, you know? So it's to be able to know where your nervous system is and know where overtraining is so easy today. Like I teach it to my coaches, where you could use someone's resting heart rate, HRV, blood pressure to know when you've pushed someone's training too far, to know when to pull back and deload. But I suppose when you were training, it was push until you hit a wall, like a dislocation or an injury, and then have to reassess.
100%. And there's some lads on the squad, a lad called Fred Evans. Fred Evans won silver in London. Fred Evans, a travelling lad from Wales, so talented, man, so good, lazy as fuck, and it annoyed me, Fred. And I like Fred. I like him, like the family. They're a real good boxer. I like Fred, but there's 5 GB coaches on the squad at the time. I think it's like 8 or 9 now, maybe 10. Fred had his own boxer, his own trainer, because he was so lazy that if he didn't have a coach on him, the whole session, he'd just toss it off. He'd just do nothing. But they knew he was a medal hope, and he won a medal, right? So it kind of paid off. But if like the 15 lads would get 4 coaches, he'd give his own coach essentially, and he hated it because he had to work all the time. But it worked for him. Things like we used to stay at the Premier Inn over the road to the training facility, and different weeks in different beds. That's not good for you. If I only know what I know about sleep, that different. Like there's so many things now, but that's life, right? It's like when you. I trained too much, too hard. We'd have a day and a half off. I'd rarely have a day. So in my head, I was like the old school mentality. It's a dinosaur sport. If you train hard, you get good. If you train hard, you get good. And I was training, and I was throwing my eyeballs to the wall every session. Every session, we're training 3 or 4 times a day. Every session can't be eyeballs out because you need to recover. And the word, if I said to the coaches back 15 years ago, hey, I've got to miss one, I've got to recover, I'd be off the squad, right? And it's not in my nature to go half in that session. Like go half as like maybe throw half as punches, or maybe pretend I'm throwing a hard jab but not throw a hard jab. That's just not me. And some boxers did do that, and it used to annoy me how these boxers would go to tournaments and win medals, and on the run in the morning we do one day we could do like a long one. not 5-6 miles, longer one, oftentimes mainly on the track. Another thing as well, like I had bad Achilles. I had 4 Achilles surgeries after when I turned pro. They ran me to death. Like I'm not a runner, and you can get. So I spent on when I turned pro, I was always on the verse climber, always on the rowing machine, changing up my cardio, like modalities of cardio, and my body grew. I liked it, changing things up. I couldn't run anymore. I can run now. I don't run now, but I got back to running. But
it's a hard skill to get back though, right? Because there's a lot of impact that's going through the hip, the knee, the ankle. You know, I've had clients and coaches who have clients where they want to run again, and it's a really hard thing to build back in. It takes a long time, especially if you've got a history of inflammatory issues like Achilles issues and tears and injuries. You know, it's a lot of stuff that you have to work on. It's a challenging thing.
So that's why I'll throw a little, I'll drop a little plug now. But my app I've been telling you about, like we'll talk about my app later, I'm sure.
Sure.
But I do short sessions now. Short sessions. My app's all 7-minute workouts. Get in, work hard, get out. Get in, work hard, get in, get the benefits, the physiological and mental, emotional benefits of working out, and then get out. After spending so long doing long, heavy duty sessions, 1, my body can't take it anymore, and 2, I don't want to do it anymore, and 3, we get older, and our time gets less and less and less, and I want to maximize my time.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I take the same route. Like my background is more in bodybuilding, not to a competitive level of bodybuilding, but sort of photo shoots, certainly got as lean as a bodybuilder. And the older I've gotten, the more I've lent into bodybuilders like Dorian Yates, Mike Mentor, you've heard of Mike Mentor, and they're very much the high intensity bodybuilding. Now, obviously these guys did a lot of low volume, high intensity, and they were on all sorts of drugs, not just anabolics, but also things that like, you know, I think Mike Mentor was known for doing a lot of meth. He was amped up to the max. But I've almost leaned into that way of training, of being efficient, being very, very hard, and getting out and recovering, rather than doing a lot of junk work. And like looking at like now, like with hindsight, now delving into the fitness world, building an app and researching and studying this area, what's your stance on overtraining now? Because you'll get people that'll go, you got to be careful of overtraining. And yet you've said, experienced, I have done more than you ever will in a lifetime. Like you can make a fair argument with your track record that overtraining isn't a thing. Like people don't even know where the limits are. But also you've had massive amounts of injuries. So where's your stance on this now?
Well, good question. I think it's a stance. It sounds a bit of a cop out, but it's not a cop out. We're all individual and we're all different. Yeah. So what I can take and withstand, you maybe couldn't, or vice versa. So I think it's down to the individual. Looking back, and it's the thing with boxing. I mean, I used to train my ass off. I used to cut from. So I mentioned earlier about staying within the 5% limit. That was hard. I was on a 24/7 diet to stay 78 kilos. Dehydrating, sweat baths, saunas. I used to have hot baths, my sweat baths, right, rather than the sauna. I don't like saunas. But the heavy, hot, 20-minute hot bath, lose 2 kilos in it, easy, before weigh-ins and stuff. After training, it's the not recovering for me. You know, it's to cover. You can train as hard as you can recover. And the thing is with us, like when I was a pro, I'd run up to like 13 and a half stone. Box 11 stone 6. So when I turned pro, the middleweight limit for professional boxing is 72.5 kilos, 11 stone 6. So I'm losing almost 2 stone each time I fight.
How do you manage that without affecting your performance so dramatically?
No, well, you don't. Ultimately, it does affect your performance. Like I felt brilliant. So how I did it in my head. So everyone's different. My friend George Groves, former world super middleweight champion, George would take a lot of weight off last minute. So he'd train heavy. So we'd spar. He was the weight above me. So I was 11.6. He was 12 stone on fight night. Well, on weigh-in day. On fight night, I'd go up to. Okay, so what I used to do, wherever I started training camp at, I'd want to get down to 12 stone 4. So that's to 77 kilos, 78 kilos. I get down to it as quick as possible, wherever I started at. And then I'll do most of my training. If I did a 12-week camp, maybe within 2 weeks I'm down to like 77 kilos. And I'd train most camp at that. I'd train really, really hard at that. And the week of my fight, the week before my fight, I'd then cut the weight, water weight. I'd weigh in at 72.5 kilos, like skinny, like a little matchstick. And then from there, eat and drink. And I'd immediately go back to 77. And if I wanted to, I could easily go up to 81 kilos. but stay. So you get about 36 hours before you fight. So in those 36 hours, I'd only got up to about 77 kilos. So in my head, I'm thinking, if I do most of my training at this, that's the way I want to fight at, because my body's used to that.
Yeah.
Now, what George would do, he was 76 kilos. I don't know the exact numbers, but he'd do his whole camp heavy, really heavy. And then the week of his fight, he would cut so much weight, like an unhealthy amount.
Yeah.
To the point where we boxed once, I think at the O2 in 2016, and he's lying there in a little room, and we were in the same room together, and he looked dead. If you blew at him, he'd have fallen over. And then he weighed in, and then does what he does, rehydrates, and then on fight night, he goes back up to maybe 86 kilos, and then I think he fought Martin Murray that day. Martin Murray is probably 80, and he's got a stone on him during the fight. And in the fight, and all the clinches, he's leaning on him, and the extra stone, like you feel it. A stone is a big difference on come fight night. So it does affect your performance. You don't take a punch as well. I mean, I remember when I was 78, 79 kilos, sparring Carl Froch, George Groves, I could take their best shots, no problem. Take it and I'd come back. When you take that same punch at 73 kilos, your resistance isn't as good, because you're just not as resilient. So it's a real fine balance. Now, Floyd Mayweather famously there's been maybe 5 of him in the history of boxing. He was so good. But Mayweather, he'd walk around at 147, which is 67 kilos, welterweight. He'd walk around at it. He'd walk around and box it the same way. He'd put no weight on or lose no weight for the fight. He was so good. Right? He was a different kind of different breed. Not many people can do that. So yeah, I mean, it was hard, really hard. But that's part of the beast. But that is why, when you win a close fight, that's why that feeling is so rewarding, because you're putting so much into it. Even things like going to bed thinking about the fight. I don't really. I do think about wrestling, but like when I got my brain on, I'm thinking about wrestling, or when I'm studying table and watching my opponent or whatever. But when I go to bed, I go to bed. It's night time now. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm not on my pillow going, oh, he's gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. It's switch off. Boxing is a lifestyle. You can't really switch off from it. It's for that 12-week camp. You're all in. And if you're not all in, you're going to get knocked out.
So you mentioned the night before. How much truth is the old wives' tale of you asked before a boxing match, you've got to abstain from enjoying yourself?
Yeah. So does that actually make a difference? I think so. And you know what? I think so. And I don't want to be the one to find out. I don't want to get a bang and get knocked out. You know what I mean? I don't have sex
and think, oh my God, I shouldn't have turned on my laptop. That's the reason why the match was thrown, right?
Yeah, exactly. And listen, so I used to abstain, maybe not 12 weeks, maybe for the last 6. Remember once, me and my ex, we had a little roll around, and I had a hard spar that day. And this actually put me off it. This is the reason why I think I even waited more than 6 weeks, because we had a little roll around that night, and I sparred that day. I took a massive punch from a lad called Danny Dignam, right on my nose, right on my beak, and my nose really sore, and then it was kind of getting good, and she nutted me accidentally. I was like, and my nose is bleeding, and I was like, oh, mate, and so after that, I was like, now I can...
Got more damage from that than you actually got from the match itself, right?
Exactly.
So you mentioned, one of the things I noticed that you promote heavily on the fitness app is mental fitness.
Yes, sir.
Right? And I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I bet a lot of that's down to what you went through during the Olympics. And you mentioned your mum not being well.
Yeah.
And how do you stay focused on the biggest fight of your life when your world personally is falling apart? Like, how do you even manage that?
I mean, I don't know how I got through it. I'm getting tingles now, just as you mentioned, and chills up my spine, as you mentioned it. I don't know how I did that in 2012. I don't know how I did it. So my mum had a brain aneurysm 5 weeks before. I sat by her bedside. So I'll tell you the full story. Condensed. I sat by her bedside for a week. So before Airbnbs, I was in a B&B, right, in Addenbrooke in Cambridge. I was out of the Olympics. I didn't throw a punch, didn't do anything. And then they said to me, just go home. Like she's stable, but in a coma, but she's stable. I go home, and I was with my wife at the time, ex-wife, and with my girlfriend at the time, became my wife. Now my ex-wife, it's still raw, so you know. and we lay in bed, and I got a phone call at 3 a.m. Now I'm my mum's next of kin, so I look at my phone, wakes me up. The first time I've been home in best part of 10 days. And Adam Brooks, and I'm panicking, thinking, fuck, this is the call where they tell me she's dead. I don't want to answer the phone. She had said, "How much?" I'm here, answer. So I answer it, and I'm being. She went, Mr. Ogogo? I said, yeah. So you treat Ogogo's next of kin? I said, yeah, fucking get to the point. She went, your mum's basically has been something bad's happened. We've got to do an immediate procedure now. It's a risky one. Do we have permission? I was like, yeah, just do the surgery. And they did it, and luckily, thank God, she's still alive now, which is amazing. I got back in my car. I went there. I was there for like 5 a.m, and I didn't leave. So a few weeks go by. I haven't done anything. Haven't thrown a punch. Haven't done a sit-up. And then my family said to me, hey, look, when mum gets better, now none of us thought she was going to get better, but when she gets better, she's going to feel awful knowing that you pulled out of the games because of her. Now they're guilt tripping me. Like, fuck. So I was like, right, these are my options. And it would have broken her heart because she's my biggest fan. And I was like, I either do the Olympics and maybe never see her again because it's touch and go. Every day is touch and go. Every hour is touch and go. Or do I not do the Olympics? She survives. She says, she wakes up. How'd you get on? I go, I didn't do it. That would have killed her.
Yeah.
So I went to the Olympic Games. No. I went to show. We had 1 week of training left. I mentioned Fred earlier. As a Tuesday, I got up on the Tuesday because as a last week of training, and on the Friday we're going down to Stratford to the Olympic Games. There's a family and friends day, and all the Olympians got to invite their family and friends to come watch them train. And I was sparring Fred Evans. My name was on the board. None of the lads knew I'd been gone for the last 3 weeks. The coaches knew what was going on. And then Fred's a traveller, right? So like all the travellers around the ring, his dad, his uncle, his brothers, like a real fighter, hitting the ring, watching Fred. And I'm there. My phone's in my pocket because I'm my next of kin. If they call me, I'm answering my phone. First punch I throw, I'll come out. I threw a sloppy jab. Fred slips out. Boom. Right hook. Cracks my rib. How I got through that spar, I'll never know. I sat on the ring apron and I sweat a lot when I train, and like the Vaseline was on my face, the grease was kind of masquerading my sweat and my tears. I'm kind of my shoulders bob, I'm crying. And Robert McCracken, the Team GB coach, comes over to me and says to me, you try to give me a pep talk. And if I didn't know what happened, it would have worked. But he came over and the gist of it was like, listen, mate, you got to crack on, you got to focus now, this Olympic Games, make your mum proud. He went, my mum once collapsed. We said we used the word collapse. Once collapsed. There's a day when Carl Froch, his boxer, fought for the world title. He went, I had a choice. Do I stay with her or do I go with Carl? And Carl became world champion, and his life kind of took off massively. And he walks away. What he didn't know that I knew, his mum died of a brain aneurysm. And I read that. So Rob's come to try to give me a pep talk, and all I've heard was, fuck, mum's going to die like your mum. Oh. And I sat there, right, crying, shoulders bobbing. My right shoulder was dislocated, and it came out a few months before the qualifier. Didn't have time to rehab properly. Came out again in my 6th pro fight, so that's subluxed, that's bouncing around. I had tears in both my Achilles tendons. I'd have 4 operations on them in the following 2 years. Every time I stepped, it was pain. I had a broken rib, and my mum was going to die. And that was my Olympics. And I went to London, and the emotional pain kind of numbed the physical pain I was in. I didn't sleep. I was on my phone. The first time I turned my phone off was the first fight. I was the first boxer to box in the Olympic Games, so I didn't go to the Olympic ceremony on a Friday night. I boxed on Saturday lunchtime. I turned my phone off. But for the fight, I won, but boxed a Dominican, beat a good Dominican. I turned my phone on. My phone started pinging. You know when your phone's going to register and I'm pinging, it's locked. I can't see the text, but I can see the names. Irish, Leanne, Joanne, Tony, bing, 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 my family, Carly. I thought, fuck, mum's dead. Mum's dead, and they're been trying to call me. I turned my phone on, and I'm reading, well done, amazing, congrats, you did it. I'm like, what the fuck? And I forgot I just boxed. I still got my sweat on. And I'm like, it's a weird time, mate. So and the fun will talk about it. I crept out of the Olympics. So over the 2.5 weeks, I snuck out the Olympics 3 times. In Stratford, I left the Olympic Village, snuck when all the coaches were asleep. I parked my car at Wanstead before they made it non-parking recently, bastards. And I got my car, drove up the A1 to Cambridge. I used to flirt with the nurse to let me in. I'd sit there, hold my mum's hand for a couple of hours, stroke her hair, she's in a coma, get back in the car, drive back down to 2 hours back down to Stratford, creep back in the village, be back in bed before the coaches woke up, and that was my Olympic. And then the day would start. And that's what. And then so I lost to the Brazilian in the semi-final. This Brazilian, I beat the Dominican, Ukrainian, and German that I'd beaten in the Olympics. They'd all beaten him that Olympic year. So within those 8 months, they'd all beaten him. The Ukrainian was the world champion. Nobody gave me a chance beating him. And I lost to the Ukrainian. And the Japanese guy in the final, I'd have smashed him. He was the worst version of the... Well, no, I wouldn't under those circumstances. But on a level playing field, I'm beating everyone. I'm becoming an Olympic champion. But the fact that, like, it took me a long time to get my head around the fact that the Brazilian beat me, but he didn't really beat me. Like, the circumstance, the emotional, the physical, like, you know, turmoil that I was in, I was fucked, you know what I mean? Like, and I was really bitter for a long time. Still a little bit annoyed about it, but, like, I didn't get my gold medal. I still call it my gold medal because I deserved the gold medal. But listen, life happens. It happens to us or for us, you know, and I've grown and learned. So how did I deal with it? I just did. I just did, you know, but I wouldn't wish it upon my worst nightmare.
I think it's an amazing thing that I think some people have and some people don't have, and that's that element of resilience where it's like we just take one day at a time. But
I think we do. I think listen, and I'm not comparing what I went through. Although there's a real difficult few months, you know, before, during, and after the Olympics. When I came back, my mum was still in the coma. Still had to learn to talk again and walk again, and it was very difficult because I'm trying to enjoy this, becoming a bit of a celebrity and achieving a dream of winning a medal at the Olympic Games and be a good son to my mum, you know, and a good brother to my sister. So it's really difficult. But I think, I'm not likening that to people that get like diagnosed with cancer and stuff. I'm not, or real adversity. But I think when you're forced to be strong, you're strong. When you have to take it one day at a time, you do. I think you do. I don't think people. But you must. I think people would. I'll butcher the quote, but something like, "You don't know how strong you are until you're forced to be strong."
Yes, I think to a degree that you're right, but if we, without changing the topic into men's mental health, obviously this is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and the amount, like the biggest killer of men our age is their own hands, which is terrifying. You realize how many people don't, and like you know a little bit about my last sort of 8 weeks, and I won't go into it here, but there was a point 3-4 weeks ago where I was having some business struggles, some personal struggles, and I felt like I was in a rapids, in a whirlpool, where the walls were closing in. And I don't know if it's the years of therapy I've done. I don't know if it's moving across the world, going through getting fired and going through things in my life. But I understood for the first time why somebody goes and does something like this. Yeah. So that ability to take one step at a time. Not everyone will be able to see the forest for the trees. Yeah. Like, there was an element there that even though you could have easily given up on that, you be able to see that bigger picture. Look from, like, imagine looking at your life from the top of a building and be able to go, right, in 5 years, if mum survives, what do I want to be known for? What do I want her to know? Which is quite a unique thing. You know, is there anything you think in your upbringing or that allowed you to have that foresight? Because so many people don't do that.
Yeah, no, do you know, I'll take back what I said. You are right, you're dead right. And I've been there as well, and also some personal struggles. I mean, so yeah, Ogogo Fitness, my app, ogogofitness.com. I've put a lot into the mental fitness side of things. There's a whole section on mental fitness where I've teamed up with anxiety experts, my former therapist, who's now my friend. She's fantastic. And a friend, a doctor of psychology. She's on there, an Oxford educated doctor of psychology, on there delivering. So then they're adding the content. It's unbelievable. I went through it. I said to the team, the guys, the contributors of my app, I was like, hey, what are your hourly rates? And I did it like 3 weeks ago. And I said to them about 10 days ago. So I wanted to work out on my app, on the Ogogo Fitness, how much monetary value is in terms of time. Yeah. And in my app, I worked out today, and there's another section I forgot to do. I forgot to do the tutorial section. There's like hundreds, probably 50 tutorial videos of me and my team teaching exercises. So I forgot to add that. But on my app, it's £5,998.84p in terms of how much the doctor of psychology charges per hour. You know, Harley Street, what she charges per hour, and she's phenomenal. Paul Shepherd is a fantastic mindset coach. What he charges per hour. I said to him, I texted him, I said, hey dude, how much I know he's really good. I said, how much do you charge, mate? And he went, he didn't get back to me. And I was obviously busy. I texted him back the next day saying, hey, is it this? I'm just gonna say this. He went to me, lol, not even close. I went, oh, he went to me this. And I was like, Wow. So yeah, so like all for £9.99 a month, or £69 a year. But right now, because this is brand new, because I'm launching, I'm offering a 30% discount. 30%. So if you put in launch 30, launch LAUNCH 30, you get 30% discount. Not just for 1 month, not 2 months, not 3 months, not a year. Get it forever. So if you invest in my app now, ogogofitness.com, and sign up there, you can download the app to your phone, tablet, laptop, stream it to your TV. If you do it now, 30%, you get it forever. So it will always be, what's that, £6.99. It will always be £48 for the year. So £6,000 worth of content for 40 odd quid. Amazing.
And that's not including the investment that you spent in your training career and your back track record and all the coaches you've had.
That's just hourly rate of people on it, condensed into the thingy. And a large part, as I mentioned, Paul and Mitchell and Dr. Ute, the mental fitness experts I have on the app, I've gone big on that because I've had my struggles. I've really struggled with my injury. I've struggled letting go of boxing, being forced to retire when I'm 27 years old, the peak of my powers, haven't barely earned a pound in the industry, in the sport, when the next fight was worth $500,000 and the one after that was $5 million. I saw it. Like, I hurt my eye, and £17,000, £17,000, I hurt my eye. I spent $100,000 on surgeries for the next 3 years to get back in the ring, never got back in the ring. The one after was $500,000. One after that was between $3 and $5 million, fighting for the world title in Las Vegas. Like, my career, I mentioned earlier, Carl Froch, he won the world title, his career change. Anthony Joshua beat Klitschko, his career change. George Groves beat so-and-so, his career change. Oh, that was my career. The fight where I hurt my eye was a run-of-the-mill. No fight's an easy fight, but I mean, I would have done him in 4 or 5 rounds comfortably, you know. The next fight was that fight for me. My career's about to take off, and I never got there. So I really struggled with that, you know. And I'm not struggled with the bitterness, with the unjustness, the unfairness of it all, the injury. My injury was misdiagnosed, and the wrong surgery was done, which I never got back in the ring, but you know, it delayed a 6-month recovery to never boxing again, you know. So I really struggled with that, and also relationship stuff. You know, as we've spoken about, we touched upon it earlier. Like, I've really struggled. I getting divorced to my wife when we got together 14 years old, together for 20 years, unbelievably hard, right? And you know, it's just, so I get, so going back, I get the struggle, but that's why it's so important in my app, in Ogogo Fitness, that I've invested equally as much in the mental side of things, because as you know from what you do, and you're obviously an expert as well, if that's not right, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what this is. If your head's not right, then you know that's your restrictor. And that's the way in anything. You could be the best actor in the world, but if you think you're shit, then you're not going to book that gig. Do you mean you got to believe and have a strong mindset? And I call it mental fitness. Opposed to mental health, because mental health has been stigmatized a lot. I love fitness. You hear the word fitness, you know you can be. We've all been there. We've all been a bit slobby. I've been a bit slobby. When I retired from boxing, I got out of shape and I was in a real bad place, both physically and mentally. And the link is so profound. And I was a right slob for a while, and my mental health struggled, my physical health struggled. And we've all been there where, like, you feel a bit shit, then you go and do a park run on a Saturday morning, or you do something and you get fitter. We understand if we work hard, we get fitter. The exact same thing applies to your mental side of things. If you invest some time, a short amount of time in your mindset, doing some gratitude, or doing some meditations, or whatever it is, if you invest in this, it gets fitter. And we need to look at our heads the way we look at our bodies. Invest in it, we get fitter, we're healthier. And when I say fitness and what Ogogo Fitness is all about, fitness, if you're fit, if you're fit when you're 670, you're able to walk up that hill and sit on the park bench and have a bag of chips, right? I mean, like English chips, not American chips. Like a bag, like fish and chips on the bench, right? Yeah. And you enjoy the afternoon with your spouse or your grandkids. If you're fit, when you're able to get on the floor and play with your kids or your grandkids, that's fitness, right? And the same thing with mental fitness. If you're mentally fit, if you're mentally strong, in my opinion, and my takeaway is, you're able to deal with the daily challenges that we face on a daily, and they're always there. Like today alone, I've been stressed out numerous times today alone. often telling stories where I'm still haven't come that go yet. But if we go through shit every single day, and the more mentally fit we are, more mentally robust we are, we can handle them better and let them go easier or deal with them better, rather than the little thing messing up your whole day.
I think that's the misinterpretation people have when they talk about mental health. They think it's the absence of negative emotion. It's the absence of stress. How can I be happier? Well, like I had a great guest podcast, a guy called Dr. Pat Davidson, a fantastic strength coach from New York City. And he, the first episode I had with him, I've had him on a few times, and he started talking about his addictions to alcohol and drugs and things like this. And he gave this great analogy, like mental health is like climbing a mountain. The first time you go into the shadowy side of the mountain, you think it's never going to end. And then you go into the light side of the mountain and you think, oh, it's never going to end. And as you get closer and closer to that mountain, the dark sides become shorter, but the light sides also become shorter. And it's not having the absence of stress or the pursuit of happiness. It's knowing that, look, I'm going to be sad at times. I'm going to be angry at times. I'm going to be stressed at times. But I'm aware of it. And I can remove myself slightly and just be able to look at it. Like I said earlier for your story, be able to look at your situation from an outside view looking in, as opposed to being caught up in the eye of that storm and being caught up in it. But looking at the stuff that you've done, whether it's, say, you said gratitude, you said meditation, if someone is listening to this, going through the hard time, whether it's divorce or injury or whatever it is, what were the biggest levers that helped you get through things like retirement? What's things that got you through?
And this isn't a plug. This isn't a plug. It really isn't about fitness. And that's when my fitness app was born. I mentioned earlier, I stopped. I'd only ever trained for, I was a boxer for 18 years. I swam nationally at national level. Before that, I played football. I'd never gone to the gym to work out. I was either eyeballs out training for something, or I was relaxing a week in between fights just to recover and like be a normal lad for a week. I never went to the gym. For my mental health. I had no idea that what I was doing when I was boxing, I was keeping those demons away. Every time I punch a bag or hit a heavy bag or lift a weight, I'm keeping my demons away. And then when I wasn't doing it, the demons were getting me, and they were all over me. I got a vision of rats kind of swarming me. That's what I like, and I started exercising again. That's when my app was born, in the darkness of 2019, 2020. That's when my idea, my app was born. It took me a while to get to a place where I could actually do it and flesh it out. And it's I exercised. I found by accident. I went to South Weald Park. I was living in Brentwood at the time in Essex. I went to South Weald Park, and I was there, and I was angry, and I screamed. Started punching a tree. All my years of boxing, I've got no scars on my knuckles other than that when I punched a tree on my left knuckle, and I was bleeding. And I sat down. It was raining. And I sat down against the tree, and the bark was in my back, and my fist was like kind of bleeding a little bit, but I felt something for the first time. Because I hadn't felt it in ages. I was retiring from boxing, I was having issues at home with my missus at the time, and I felt something. I don't know. It wasn't pain. It was a lot of pain, but I felt something other than pain. I was numb to the pain. I struggled, man. I really losing my identity was really difficult, and I'd been a boxer, and that was my identity. Anthony Ogogo, the boxer. This, and I lost that, and on my app, Dr. Uta, I found a fantastic psychologist, a wonderful woman. She's done like a masterclass series on thinking and how we're addicted to thoughts and the way we think, and changing the way we think. And I was there in the studio when she was doing it, and I was fascinated. Listening to her, going, wow, and it's fascinating. So change, because we get addicted, and I did it. I had so much. Again, I don't want to play the violin, but I could play a fucking cello if you let me. You know what I mean? Like all the things. I'll come on two things, right? So that, and I'll come on to the what got me out of it. And I don't want this I want people to get out of it without having to go through what I and we went through.
Yeah.
And for loads of shit, right? And it became why me, or woe me, right? Like the Olympics and Mum, and I didn't win a gold medal, and Josh was now a millionaire, and Luke Campbell's doing dancing on ice, and Nicola Adams, and why aren't I a gold medalist? I should have won a gold medal. I was as good as them. I deserve this, and I was bitter. My Olympic medal, I had contempt for it, and I didn't even know where it was, and like pissed off when I turned pro, and I got injured, and then this happened, and that happened, and why is it always me, right? Then this injury and that injury. I was out for a year of my Achilles, 4 surgeries, 2 on each leg. I came back. The first fight back, I boxed over in Germany, I dislocated my shoulder for the 3rd time. so I was out for another 10 months. Like, stuff like that. My coach wasn't giving me the time I needed. I trained by myself. I was going to spar with world champions, sparring. Coach didn't turn up. I had to, with my boxing gloves on, mid-round, feed myself water in my gloves just to hydrate in between the rounds, right? And I'm an Olympic medalist training like I'm some random nobody. And then I got addicted to thinking like, oh, why me? Life is shit. Oh, it's not fair. And that was horrible. And it took, when COVID happened, and I was in America, then I had to come back, and wrestling was pissing me off. And then my best mate died, 30 years old, bladder cancer. And it took that, right, for me to go, fucking hell. There's me complaining, but I've got, a bit on my eye, I'm blind in my left eye, basically. I'm mostly blind in my left eye, and you can see it doesn't move properly. And then that happens. And I'm like, fucking hell. Chabba's not even here to watch England, go to the pub. You know, he just got his first girlfriend. Then he died of the rarest form of cancer known in this time. And it's like, it took that to happen for me to go, oh, okay, maybe life isn't so bad. And, you know, I wish I got there without having to lose one of my bestest friends, you know. So it was really, really, difficult. So what I would say is, and again, it's not plugging the app, but I talk. My app is all lived experience. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not the finished article. None of us are the finished article. I don't profess to be like some people do. I'm very much a work in progress, and I talk about things that have helped me, and it's all very much me centric. And I've been through a lot of my life, in an awful lot of my life, and it's things that I've done that I know worked for me, and from my own research and working with doctors of psychology and mindset coaches and life coaches and therapists and counselors all on the app. I understand. I know it works for people, and I'm very much for therapy, talking. You know, if you're not ready yet, I know it can be like a quite a big thing, especially for men, to do a big bridge to gap, and or gap to bridge, a big gap to the bridge, and you know, maybe listen to videos, listen to small things, you know, privately, until you're ready to take that step. You know, but I think, you know, ultimately, and as well, I was like, again, and when I start speaking about mental health, I start openly about some of my struggles, because there's a boxer doing it, and boxers never used to do, boxers all macho, it's all tough, it's all hard guys, it's all like, you know, we're taught from a young age, you spar, if you get hit with a body shot, you want to hide the pain, don't you? If you go, ugh, they're going to go back to it. You got to hide it. You got to fake. You got to act. And that's what boxers do, live their lives going, oh, I've had a great training camp. I'm going to smash him up. Training camp was shit. You got a bad elbow. You got a bad neck. You got a black eye. Didn't spar for 3 weeks because you hurt your hand. We lie, right? We lie.
It's a part of that's a mind game to your opponent as well, that you're coming across as confident. Like, they think you're going into a hard time. They're gonna perform even better because they're thinking, I've got this guy.
If I fought someone and he went in the press conference before, yes, there was a hard camp, and I bruised my rib in the third week.
Where are you going?
Didn't spar for a month. I'm like, I'd actually funny if he said that. I'd be like, nah, he's kidding me on. He wants me to go for the rib, catch me with the left hook. That's what he wants to do. Because you always had a great training camp, always fit, always strong, you always feel good, and that's great for the performance. And boxing, like if you see it as a performance or a sport, but in real life, that's not. That's how people end up taking their own life, and that's needed. I think talking to people, and also, the point I was going to make was this: it's fucking 21st. Who cares about being the hardest geezer in the pub or the hard? Who gives a fuck? Because ultimately, like, who cares? So, I mean, I used to want to be like, oh, the hardest kid in the school is the hardest ever, and now like I laugh about it. Do you mean I laugh? Yeah, it's just weird. I was in a pub recently in America. There's a British pub watching the England game, and some guy stuck it on the girl I was with, and I asked him to leave, and he was being really rude, and he kind of like almost started on me. And
it's not the wisest thing.
He was quite big. He's not all his friends. He was drunk as well. And he's been really rude to this particular girl. He's been really rude, and he went to me, "Is she your girlfriend?" I said, "No." He went, "Well, you can fuck off then." And I was like,
okay.
So I was actually annoyed. I was like, I felt, because I said to her on the way back, I went, if I saw me in a pub whether I was with friends or not, whether I was drunk or not, I wouldn't start on me. I wouldn't tell me to fuck off. I'd be like, at the very least, I'd be, he looks like he knows what he's doing. You know, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And this kid's, you fuck off then. And kind of budge at me. And I was like, no. Anyway, point of
Was
making
that a knock to your ego?
Yeah.
Because I bet there's a part of you that still has the identity of the tough boxer.
100%.
Right?
100%. Anyway, I headbutted him. But the reason why I did that, he went to swing for me.
Yeah.
Right? And he was
You've
drunk.
had years of learning how to use your hands, and you choose your head?
Because, for that exact reason. For that exact reason. If I'd have chinned him, and he was drunk as well,
Yeah.
and he was prick, and he's rude, he grabbed her, and I said, mate, please don't do it. I've
days.
asked you to leave. Point of making was this. I wasn't going to say the headbutt thing, but that's what happened. But like, I had this thing in my head prior to that. When he told me to fuck off, I thought, and my ego was like, who the fuck are you talking to? And I felt for a split second the need to give him a slap. But who wins from that? Right? Who wins from that? Anyway, I've asked him to go. He's moved that way. He went to swing for me. So I didn't headbutt. I gave him like a push to the head, and he stumbled back because he was drunk. And then the bouncers dove in and kicked him out. Him and all his friends out.
Yeah.
And they thanked me. And one bouncer heard me say that wasn't my girlfriend. So the bouncer, he was there the whole time. I had no idea he was behind me the whole time. Which annoyed me. He could have stepped in much earlier,
right? Yeah.
But he said to me, I heard, because he said to me, like, you know, often we rarely get men stand up for women when they're not together. So I think he respected the fact that, like, we weren't even an item, and I told the guy to not be rude, because you don't grab women.
No.
You don't make people feel uncomfortable. That's not okay. And also being a woman, like, in a pub and watching the England game with a friend had gone to the toilet, so she's by herself, and this big guy, drunk guy, comes over and being rude, like, that's not cool. Come on, mate. So yeah, I didn't know. I pushed him in my head, and he went to swing for me, and I was like, if I hit him, I'd be in trouble. My mum always worried about me going out. She went, don't hit anybody, because she had a dream once I hit somebody and they cracked their head on the floor and died. And I was like, so I always had that in my head. Maybe it was a lie. Maybe she said it to me. But I never punch anybody, because it's, life's fair. I've done my hard yards.
Yes.
I want to have a good time now. I want to go watch England and enjoy the game without dickheads threatening to fill me in.
Yes.
You know, so my ego is bruised on the last thing, driving home thinking, I wouldn't start on me.
Do you get, because especially when you're back in the UK, right, if you're going out for a few beers, there must be, especially around Euros time, where there's a lot of people that always want to fight. Being someone who's, quite a well-known boxer, there must be people wanting to have a pop because you're Anthony Ogogo.
But I think I look so different now to when I boxed. I'm almost twice the size.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I used to walk around about 85 kilo. I'm now like 100. So I'm a little bit bigger than I was. But I've got long hair now. Got a beard now. I couldn't grow a beard before. And I never had long hair before. So I look different. So I don't think... I'm not really... Understand, I'll keep my head down. Like I mentioned, the point I'm making is I've got nothing to prove. Like, I've done everything. And the same thing with wrestling. We might talk about wrestling in a bit. But like, in wrestling, if you there's a lot of, I don't want to be mean to anything, but there's a lot of like fake tough guys in wrestling. They've never had a fight in their life, but maybe they think they have because they get maybe wrapped up in the whole wrestling thing, because wrestling, like, it must be hard. Like, when you're playing a character, that character must bleed into your real life. I play a character. I know it does, because when I first went to America, I was like the bad guy anti-America, and I started it kind of bled into my real life a little bit as well. I mean, it was all like jovially, but still.
That must be a weird thing going to, because I've been a wrestling fan since I was 9 years old. I probably watch more things about the behind the scenes of wrestling now than I actually do the wrestling itself. So I know there's some incredibly tough people in this industry. But for my thing, it is a incredibly athletic, almost EastEnders meets stuntman world, but it's not. It's a predetermined sport. Going into that world as an actual tough guy, from your background, I mean, was there animosity towards you for that? Like, because you were, I don't want to say legit, because it's not like wrestlers aren't legit, because of course they are. But is that with that ego of what some of them might have?
I don't think. I think maybe. Obviously, no one's gonna say that to my face. I didn't like you because you're a boxer. But I think people didn't like the fact that I came in a good spot, because, again, no one's ever said that to me, but I think I came in a really good spot, wrestling one of the top guys in AEW. I don't think it was the box. I think people like, they've been busting their ass for years, like doing the indies and stuff, and I've come in and I understand that now. I get it, because I've been in the business for a little bit. I didn't get it at the time, but I was actually making this point earlier. point I'm making was this. Backstage in AEW, I'm like a big kid. I get along with everybody. You've got to really go something to piss me off because I just don't care enough. I want to have a good time in my life. I was a moody prick as a boxer for years, always dehydrated, always hungry, in a bad mood, always hurt, injured, and must not have been that fun to be around. I'm a big kid now. I have a great time, and if you saw us all backstage, me messing around, being funny, like playing, like flirting with the girls or being silly with the boys, whatever, you wouldn't think I was the Olympic boxer because I don't. What one might think a boxer does, right? You know, go around being tough, snarling. That's not me. If it kicked off, I can switch real quick, you know. But I don't want to. I've got nothing to prove. I've done everything I want to do in my life. This is all bonus to me. So like, I've got nothing to prove. I haven't got to pretend to be a tough guy because I know if it does kick off, like, my natural instincts will kick in because you don't lose that. You don't lose that, and I know what I can do. But yeah. So and the funny, somebody mugged me off recently, and we haven't got that relationship where you can mug me off, and I won't say it was a year or so ago, but like, I won't say what happened. It wasn't that bad. But I was like, oh, I don't think he knows. I think he sees me as the wrestler rather than what I really am. Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. So he's got his one. Next time he's gonna get a rude awakening. But he's got his one. But everyone, like, yeah, people, yeah, it's just. But I mean, I respect people in the way I want to be respected. You just respect people. The weird thing about wrestling, everyone respects you if you're above. If you're below, they're kind of like, you know, it's a weird hierarchy thing in wrestling. Yeah. And I'm like, that's strange to me. Yes, respect your elders. Yes, if Arn Anderson comes in, give up your seat to Arn, or Jake Roberts comes in, yeah, of course, do that, you know. But
how do you even define below in wrestling? Because, for example, I heard you recently talk about Dean Malenko, which is one of the greatest wrestlers ever, right?
We shared an Uber together this week. We had an Uber, so at 5:08, no, before that, the flight was at 5. At 3:30 a.m, we all got an Uber. I went, Dino, let me come in with you. And he's so funny, man. He's so funny. Dean is such a funny man. And he's got Parkinson's now. He's got Parkinson's, Dean. He's got really bad. But he like, you know, he's got his little Zimmer frame. They call it a walker in America. But he's sharp as a tack. So funny. He's always like buzzing around. He's an absolute legend, that guy. And we got on quite well. And we shared an Uber from the airport to the. And I pinched him like you. I was a wrestling fan my entire life. And Scott he's backstage. He's now a trainer, a coach at AEW. And so
but I saw again, another fantastic wrestler, which you would consider below because he was a small tag team wrestler. But well, he's no different from somebody who is a former world champion. Really, there is an element of maybe promo connection with the audience, but there must be a skill set in being a lower card wrestler that's completely unique. Right?
So Dean Malenko, listen to this. So I'll tell you much of my Dean. Dean Malenko, so funny, so charismatic, a proper laugh, mate. Like gets on with the men and the women. He's so funny. And I said to him once, Dean, I was like, and I just ask questions. And I got this thing where because I'm like, didn't grow up in the business, I can ask questions and play in it like hard pint ignorance a little bit. Yeah. I got Dean, so why were you like boring when you were like a wrestler? Because he was the boring guy, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, mate, he said that was my gimmick. I went, you're so fun backstage, you're so funny and so like charismatic. Why were you so dull when you wrestled? He went, I was a heel, that was my job. He'd go out there and because he's so funny and so good, like so witty, intentionally be dull and boring because he was the heel and he wants people to boo him and not like him. I'm like, fuck. How? And in this industry, everybody wants to get liked. Even the heels want to get liked. Even the heel wants to do like cool shit.
How do you find that? Because you've come in as a heel, right? And I've not known you for very long, but you are an insanely nice guy. So like, how is it feel coming in and having to play a bad guy when you aren't?
I love it. I love it because everyone's got a prick in them. Everyone has. And I get to be a prick for those 12, 15, 18 minutes. I love it. I like scaring kids. I like offering out. I like offering out like dads. And I don't break. I broke once. A year or so ago. And I was giving it to these geezers. And I can't think of what he said, but he said he'd obviously been, and also when I've been over in America the last 4 years now, we're different. Americans and British, we're different. We're really different. And it's like things we say are different. Our mannerisms are different. The verbiage we use is different. And like this geezer obviously been in, like the word geezer, I called somebody a geezer once, and he got offended. What the fuck? I got a geezer. "Oh, geez, come down," and he got offended. And what the fuck? And I said to I think I said to Nyla Rose, and Nyla went, "Geezer in America means old stinky man. Old man smells piss, like an old man, like old pissy man, right?"
But we are getting chance for bruv now, thanks to Mr. Ospreay.
Yeah, we are.
You know, like that. There is nothing more satisfying than turning on AEW and just hearing Americans shout bruv.
Yeah,
It's
that's funny.
Fantastic.
That's funny. It's funny. But I was going to a story. But anyway, this guy said an English thing, like an English like colloquialism, and made me laugh. It just made me laugh. And his manager, I was like, you bastard. But I like being a heel because I can just be a dick for those 12 minutes, and that's my job. My job is to scare kids. Make the best thing. I learned this early on. I was giving it to this kid. I was staring at this kid when they must have been about like 12 or whatever. This kid, and he was like, maybe younger, maybe like 9, and the kid got scared. And I'm like, yes, I'm doing my job, right? Because I'm going to get slapped in a minute and he's going to cheer. So when as a bad guy, it's my job to be disliked by the fans. So when the good guy gets up at me, they're going nuts. It's my job to make this kid shit himself. So yeah, this kid. And his dad was laughing. He said, "Oh, it's all a joke." And I stared at the dad, didn't say a word. Stared at the dad in his eyes. And he went, he laughed. And then his smile went super quick. And he was like, in his eyes said, "Oh shit," right? And when you can it's easy to scare kids are idiots, right? But when you can get we can get a grown man go, "Oh fuck, I thought this was fake, but now this is real, I'm a little bit scared." When you can make a grown man get scared, that's the best feeling in the world. And then you know you're doing your job. So when you get in the ring and some babyface comes down and lights me up and throws me over the top rope, he's going to be cheering because he scared my kid. He's an arsehole and he scared you as well, mate.
Do you think it's easier playing a heel than a babyface?
It is because I sound arrogant. I'm a good babyface. I've been a babyface in Progress in London numerous times, and the fans there really like me. So I do. I think it helps, obviously, the fact that I'm a British flag when I'm in America. It helps that kind of those things. But again, like when I do Progress stuff, I've said a few like Queenie things, and they all booed. So I think they're kind of like they're very much a non-royalist audience. But it's easier to be a heel because it's easier. Just think of real life. It's easier for someone to dislike you than like you. You stand on someone's shoe on the tube. Oh, he hates you. If you say to some guy, "Oh man, I did it once." So I said to a guy, I was in a really good mood, and this guy had some fluff in his beard, and I had some fluff in my beard recently, and no one told me. I went, "Oh mate, got some fluff in your beard." I didn't get it. It has been a beard. So he got a fluff in your beard, and he got it himself. He looked at me, and I thought he was gonna say thanks. He looked at me like I was a dickhead, and went and turned around. I was like, "Oh, I was only trying to be nice." So I'm trying to be nice, and this man doesn't like me. So it's easier to make someone not like you than actually like you. So I think it's easier to be a heel. More fun being a heel. As a wrestler, you take less bumps as a heel. So I like you get, the baby face gets beaten up more. So it's more as well my character. It's easier for me to be a heel because I shouldn't really be getting beaten up.
So you said earlier on that you never liked getting punched in the face. It was just an inevitable part. You will get hit. With wrestling, you have to take the bump.
Yeah. But
what is a bump? How does a bump feel in comparison to being punched in the face in boxing?
Okay, so getting punched in the head is not nice. But the thing about that's why I just describe wrestling and boxing. I mean, I was a boxer for a long time. I've been to Buckingham Palace 3 times, been to Downing Street twice. I've been to some real big places, and I walk in as the boxer. And as the boxer, you get respect, whether it's conscious or unconscious. People respect boxing. They respect the art. They know it's hard, and they respect it. And I like that. You have somewhat of an aura. Now, I've also been to certain places as a wrestler. People go, "Oh, that's that fake shit." And people don't respect wrestling because it's the silly, it's the giant haystacks, it's the big daddy, it's the cartoony stuff, and don't respect it. And I understand because they think it's fake, right? But there's nothing. So yes, boxing is harder because you are getting punched in the head. But people respect boxing. Wrestling's really hard, really, really, really hard. I've picked 2 really hard careers. People don't really respect it because they think it's fake. But there's nothing fake taking a bump.
I always say it's predetermined.
It's predetermined, yeah.
The chops hit.
The chops, mate.
The chairs hit.
I've been left scarred with chops. Like I don't get chops.
Who gave you the hardest chop of your career?
A guy called Baron Black. He's an independent wrestler called Baron Black. He's a black dude, right? He's got these black, coarse, leathery hands. Like he has no idea what moisturizer is. Let alone ever used it. He hit me. It's like getting hit with tree bark. Oh, mate. and he scarred me. Oh, JD Drake, he can chop hard. We had a match with I'm a bit of a bitch here. You've been a bit of a bitch. We had a match with JD Drake. But it's the thing, I don't care. This is the thing, like a lot of wrestlers wouldn't say this because they're trying to protect his image. I don't give a fuck. If it kicked off, I'd probably win in real life. So I can relax. I don't mind kind of showing some invulnerability because I think men, as we've said this earlier, we don't show vulnerability. And if me, a tough guy, apparently tough guy, and I don't care. I don't see myself as a tough guy. I see myself as me, but people want to think I'm a tough guy. If I show vulnerability and say, yeah, I'll go therapy, I don't care. You know, I seek help. If I do it, that means Liam from Doncaster can do it, you know, who's not a well-known tough guy. That's me, thanks. And then later on in the match, he gave me another one, but we didn't plan another one there. But it hurts. I don't want to get chopped. And I don't. So as a heel, the rule is, and then he chopped me out, threw me out, and Anthony Henry kicked me so hard, man. I'll send it to you. He kicked me in the chest so hard. Goodness me. And there's nothing fake about that. Yeah. Friends with Satnam Singh, 7'4". He gave me a choke slam. 7'4", his arm must be 3 foot. So I was 12 foot. I'm 100 kilos, 104 kilos. 12 foot, I'm in the air, getting slammed to the floor. Nothing fake about that. So a bump is when you hit the mat. The first bump I ever took, I went to a wrestling school in 2017 for my stag do. I didn't go to IB, I went to Norwich Wrestling School for my stag do. And I saw one of the lads, Ricky Knight Jr., who's a really good wrestler. He did a choke slam bump. He jumped up really high and bumped. So I've done it. Oh, I'll do this. Like, it's my stag do. I'll have a laugh. I did it. I didn't tuck my chin. Boom. Concussed myself. Back of the head. If you don't tuck your chin, mate, you're seeing stars. Literally cartoon stars above your head. So, bumps aren't pleasant, mate. I mean, your body does get conditioned to it. But, I mean, when you take a tackle from somebody, you know, you see in wrestling, you drop down, leapfrog, tackle. A tackle is when you basically shoulder butt somebody, you know, in their chest. And, man, that's not pleasant. And you got to eat the tackle. Then you got to throw yourself back into the mat as hard as you can. And that's the weird thing in wrestling. When you hit the mat, you're throwing yourself against the mat as hard as you possibly can. When I say mat, it's maybe half an inch of foam and just wooden board. And, like, if you ever get to a ring early, an arena early, you see people putting the ring up. It's there, some suspension, board. I went training recently and the ring was a bit shit, and I bumped. When you bump, you slap your hands on the mat as well to make a louder noise and to distribute the weight across the upper back. And my elbow hit the floor, and there's a little crack between the foam. My elbow hit pure wood. I had a big saggy elbow hanging in there where I popped a few bursts. Oh, the pain. They're still sore now. And this was maybe 5 months ago. So yeah, it's the most painful fake thing in the world.
How does the training differ from boxing to wrestling?
So I went from only doing cardio in terms of, I did some weights obviously as well, but like when I was lifting weights, it was heavy weights but very light, very low reps, not putting any bulk on, and not eating, not recovering from the sessions, and cardio, running, bike, rowing machine, vertical climber, boxing training obviously, and then I do as little cardio as possible now, eating all the time, every 3 to 4 hours when I'm really on it, and lifting heavy weights. And I go training always once a week. Sometimes if I don't wrestle at AEW, then sometimes twice a week. Wrestling training is hard, and I train with QT Marshall, Billy Gunn. I train them weekly coaches. I trained with Brian Danielson and William Regal for a whole year. I trained with Cody. Dustin Rose has taught me. You know, I've had some unbelievable coaches, right? Some really, really good coaches. So like once you kind of know how to wrestle, you only really get better by wrestling. Once you know how to take all the bumps, take all the moves, you know your ring awareness, you only get better by going out in front of different crowds and doing it, because you've got to listen to the crowd. It's not a set script. You do this, I do this. Because if the fans aren't buying it, I had a match once, and there was an enhancement match. I had to basically squash the guy. We had maybe 4 minutes, and he could not get a move in on me. Daniel Regal was doing my stuff then. Regal said, "Don't let him get a move on you. Don't let him get anything in you." So I'd say to the guy, "Hey, listen, mate, we're going to wrestle. You can't do a move on me," which is a bit of a shitty thing to say to somebody, right? I said to him, however, I said, "I'm going to give you a leg drop, and I'm going to leave my leg across here, and I'm going to do the old one. I'm going to count when the referee counts, like really arrogant. Then what I want you to do is in Chicago, in his hometown, so a really hot wrestling crowd. So what I want you to do, I want you to kick out and sit up and like really like fire up. So all you're doing in this match is a fire up, right? And then he fired up, and the fans went ballistic. Right? A little bit of hope, and then I had the intuition to go, mate, keep going, like keep going. So we start hitting me and bashing me, and the fans are going really, really hard, and boom, boom, boom. You're gonna hit his comeback, and when I shut him down, the fans went dead. And that's having the ability to listen to a crowd. And Regal said, don't let him do any moves to you. Then when I got back, he said to me that was amazing, because I heard the crowd that they wanted it. It's a heel's job, it's a bad guy's job to get the fans up and then to shut them back down, and that's what I did. So that showed like wisdom beyond my years and experience. And yeah, no, it's fun. It's really fun. It's really fun to talk about. It's really fun. Don't get me. It's a job. But it's a really fun job.
Yeah. And like, how much of a wrestling match is pre-called? How much of the spots are pre-called, and how much like that is it called on the fly? Does it depend on who you're facing and the kind of wrestler you have?
Yeah, I mean, Chris Jericho, he's not calling a lot. I know Chris had a match with Dax a couple of years ago, and both two old school guys, both been around for a long time, had millions of matches. They haven't got a call match. You call a finish, because finish is the main bit, the important bit. You might call if there's a part of the match you need to get over. If there's a part of the match you've got to kind of get some, like, understand. You'll call that, you'll plan that. But it depends who you are. I'm a bit of both. I like to, as the bad guy, and traditionally it's the bad guy's job to call a match. So the bad guy say, hey, we're going to do this. The bad guy's job to lead the good guy around, traditionally. I came in as so normally the bad guys are the experienced ones, and the good guys were the baby faces, because they're young and they're fresh looking face and they're new. I came in as a bad guy, so I had to kind of learn to call matches really early and lead a match. So like, I like to tell my opponent, we'll call the beginning bit, and that's normally the good guy's spot. And then we'll call the back end, because that's like the interesting bit. Like any movie, you go to watch a movie, it can be great for the first 90 minutes. If there's a shit ending, you always go, oh, that movie was shit. Yeah. And it wasn't. It's a great movie. Just the endings. People remember the endings. The endings got to be kind of like polished and maybe practiced, or at the very least like spoken about, you know, to get the good camera angles and stuff. Because it's all theatre. That's the other thing about wrestling. It's like boxing. You go in there, even if it's a boring fight, but you win the fight. You know, onto the next round or the next fight. Wrestling is theatre. It's you got to do the stuff and remember the spots, but also entertain, you know. And you got to like do certain. There's some moves that I'll do in a certain position to get a good shot for the camera. But so yeah, I like to tell my opponent, hey, I might do this, I might not, I might do this. So because what you don't want to do is like pick somebody up for a move, and they have no idea what's coming, because if we're wrestling, I mean, Regal taught me this. My one job is to make you look great, and your job is to make me look great. And if we like each other in real life or not, if we do that, we both win. Because if I beat you and you look great, I'll beat somebody who's really good. If I lose to you, yeah, but I lost to, but he's really good. You know, if I make you look shit and I lose, I was still a shit person. You know, it's just your job to sell big and make it look good. And then if you both do that, everybody wins. And a good wrestling match is like, win or lose, everybody wins in the end, because everyone looks better after the match than before the match, you know. So I like to let my opponents know what I might do, just so if I pick them up for a move, they're not panicking. They can, oh, he's going for that, I can do that, I know how to sell. If you pick someone up for a move and I then told him what I'm going to do, he might tense up, and him or I might get hurt, or the move might look a bit rubbish because he just wasn't expecting it, you know. So I like to be like kind to my opponents who I'm wrestling. But sometimes I'll think of, but you can talk, right? You can talk during a match. I'm going to do this to you, and it's really cool. It's like a dance. DDP said to me, it's like a dance when I first, and unlike you, so I'm a wrestling fan, obviously, but when I was a wrestling fan growing up, I intentionally didn't watch the backstage stuff. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know what the real names were, who was dating who. I don't want to know. So I wanted to, for that 2 hours, believe that what I was watching was real. Of course, I know it was predetermined, but I wanted to get sucked into it, and it worked. So when I went to AEW for the first time, I had no idea how things worked, like the politics. I had no idea, and I wasn't really taught. So like, I must have made so many faux pas because I did things that I didn't know. Like I said to you earlier, I'd asked Demon Lincoln, why were you so boring when you wrestled? Not to be a dick, because he was boring, right? But maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have Demon Lincoln, but I think he was. No, it's just. I treat people like I respect everybody, whether you're, as I mentioned, above or below, or if you work in a canteen, if you're the I think it's rude when we go to different arenas each week, and when the people who work in your arenas, you tell us where to go, where the toilets are. I thank you so much, appreciate that, because I want to know, because I don't really run around Madison Square Garden looking for a toilet. So I treat those guys with respect. Like most do, to be fair. Some maybe don't know, but like it's just common courtesy. Just be nice to people.
You mentioned DDP earlier. How has DDP influenced your view of training?
He's influenced my life massively. A large reason why I'm doing wrestling is because of him. He was the first person, HIV stuff to me, the heart rates. He was the first person to really kind of get me on this. He was the first person to kind of teach me about eating. Now, it's not great over here, but in the US, like, food's bad. Like, everything I eat is organic. I spend a lot of money on organic because they put a lot of stuff in food that shouldn't really be there. I'm not too sure how it is over here, because once I've got really into the food, I've been living over there for the last 4 years. He was the first person to taught me about that, about rest, about recovery, icing. He was icing back in the 90s when most people would wrestle, go out and do a few lines of coke and drink beer. He was wrestling, putting ice on his elbows and going to his hotel to sleep. That's why he was wrestling for so long, and so that's why that's why he's still now at 68, looks unbelievable, and could still go and take some bumps if he wanted to, because he's a beast. So yeah, love DDP. He's also with my app as well. He's got his own DDPY, his DDP yoga app. He's taught me about entrepreneurialism as well. He's taught me about, bugger, I've got to go on Dragon. I just remembered, I've got to apply for Dragon's Den. That's what I was meant to do that today, and I was texting you, that's why I forgot to do it. So I didn't get back to you straight away because I was doing that, and then I got a phone call. He was on Shark Tank, which is Dragon's Den over there.
Yeah.
And so just remind I've got to do that before I forget. It ends on the 30th.
Well, we'll clip that when you get on the show.
Yeah. So he's taught me a lot about life. He's taught me, he said, and again, it's wrestling, but it's life. Two things matter in wrestling, and I believe in life as well: work ethic and relationships. And that's what I'm saying about being nice to people. Be nice to the person in the arena who tells you where the bathroom is. Be nice to Tony Khan, the boss who pays you. Be nice to everybody. Sure, like, it's the person who's paying you, maybe be a bit nicer to him because he's paying your wages, right? But like, be nice to people. It's just not hard. On the tube, and I'm quite a happy dude, and I got back from America last night actually, and got on the tube at like 9 o'clock, and it's a little bit annoying. Everyone's so moody. Like, we have no idea, and it's nice for me to be. I love coming home. I love it. It's still much my home, but like, we have no idea how lucky you're not to be in Russia or Ukraine at the minute. Unable to see your friends and family, like hearing planes going over Auburn or Palestine, like, God, we're so lucky to be here. I know life is hard, and things are difficult. We're all fighting battles, as I mentioned at the very beginning, but guys, I think it's about looking what we have and what we didn't have, and that's what I wasn't doing when I was struggling. I was looking what I didn't have, the gold medal or the money or the fame that Anthony Joshua had, but it's like, fuck, Chapo's dead. I've got life. It's like, look, be happy with what you. Of course, like, then there's the balance of being happy with what you've got. And I struggled with this for a while as well. Being happy with what you've got, being grateful for what you've got, but still wanting more. That was a weird thing. That was a weird thing for me to kind of get my head around. I was like, hang on, how do I be grateful for living in a 3-bedroom house when I want a mansion? Like, how does that work? Like, what? Like, I mean, I know. So it's a minefield.
But that's the challenge for everyone, right? Because everyone's trying to. There's always more you could do, and people are so often to sacrifice. I'll be happy when, and they sacrifice the happiness now to get then, and it's like it takes those moments. Like, and hopefully for many it's not tragedy, but it takes those moments to take stock and go. In 15 years' time, with all this, I can, like yourself. We spoke about my current situation. I could look at the woe is me and this. But in 15 years, I will look back on being this healthy, being this age, being this capable, and going, why did I let stuff get to me? Because I would have had it back, And on that, before we close off, there's one closing question I give everybody that comes on this, because I've had some of the biggest names in wrestling. I've had some of the biggest names in business, some of the biggest names in the fitness industry. And everyone sort of looks at this highlight reel now that is social media, and that we almost can't do wrong, and that failure is a terrible thing. So name me one thing that you've changed your mind on.
Ooh, changed my mind on. Ooh. I could probably think of a better answer if you gave me some time. But the first thing that comes to my head, okay, can I have two parts?
Of course you can.
Thank you, sir. The first thing that came to my head when you said that was winning isn't everything. Because my entire life I thought it was. It would make me happy.
Yeah.
Winning would... people would love me and like me and care for me if I win. If I'm successful, people want to be around me. Winning isn't everything. Now, it doesn't mean be content if losing isn't good. I don't know. But I think there's so much more. There's so much more than just winning. You know, life isn't. And I for ages, and I think often of things I've done or said or the way or my behavior in the past, and kind of cringe. I was never bad, but I kind of cringe, thinking, oh, I said that or I did that. I used to, in my head, I think everything's black or white. Because if it's black and white, it's easy. If it's up or down, left or right, good or bad, it's black and white. But the older you get and the wiser you, hopefully you get, more experience, you realize that nothing's black or white. Everything's grey. Yeah. And like, the course, don't get me wrong, I'll go to an extreme here, but like, murder's bad, right? Murder's bad, you shouldn't do it, of course. I can murder somebody. If I found out that somebody was raping my sister or done something really bad to one of my nephews and nieces, and I saw him doing it, like, I'd you know, I haven't got children yet, but if someone had one of my children walked in, somebody doing something bad to one of my children, I could murder somebody, you know, in that heat of the moment. So it's like, I mean, I don't condone murder. That's obviously very bad.
But humans are complex, right? It's
complexity.
I had a podcast call the other day, and I said exactly the same thing. Have you seen that show You on Netflix?
Yes.
Right, and you listen to that, how in that first series he was a hero to that young kid, but he was murdering people. He loved this woman, but he was stalking this woman. Yeah. When we look at people, we often see this Disney. They did this, it's bad, they're a bad person. Or in the wrestling, they're a heel, they're a babyface. Where this isn't really the case in real life. It's not even really the case in wrestling anymore.
We're really multifaceted.
Yes.
All of us are. And yeah, I mean, it's like, life is grey. Winning isn't everything. I'd much rather lose and be happy than win and be lonely and sad. You know, obviously the goal is to merge the two, you know, win and be happy. That's the goal. But like you said, I mean, like, people forgo what they want now for happiness when they get there. And don't get me wrong, I mean, it's the balance, right? It's like, I am all for going on a strict diet and eating well and eating healthy. By the way, the app has got like 1,000 meals on my Go Fitness app and like loads of fun stuff like that. And I'm talking about a custom workout builder. We can create your own workout. So, you know, go check out my app. You'll love it, I'm sure. But like, I'm all for discipline and not do an easy thing to get the reward at the end. But I'm not saying always have the chocolate bar, because like, if you always have it, it's never special. But I think happiness is really important, and there's no point. What's the point in? I mean, I'm talking from experience. I've done it. I was miserable for so long, so I thought, when I become world champion, I'm allowed to be happy. I never became world champion, and under that context, I'd be miserable forever. And it's like, if I could do it again, I'd find the happiness along the way.
And you spend more time in that process. We start today talking about the training for the Olympics. You spent way more time training than you did competing for that.
2.5 weeks.
You know,
Olympics is 2.5 weeks.
So, and how many years we lived up to that? So I think it's that, like we spoke about the whole of this, podcasts have a great way of coming full circle. I always think that if you zoom out and go, right, what am I working towards? I can take one step, but I've got to be enjoying that process some way along the way, because I'm going to spend more time in the process than I am at the destination. So, to close off, you mentioned your app, and we've talked about this here, but if people want to find it, if people want to delve into it, tell us a bit about it. Tell us what people can expect for £69 for the year or the lifetime discount.
Yes, sir. So Ogogo Fitness. So it's not, don't go on the Apple Store or App Store. Go on ogogofitness.com and you can go there and sign up. It's £69 for a year or $9.99. But right now, the launch 30, use the launch 30 code. You get 30% off forever, every single month or every single year. And a buying for the year is more cost effective. 40, I think it's £48 for the year. With that, you get right now, you get all the workouts, 60 workouts. So where I've done it like boxing themed, right? So there's 12 rounds. A round is basically level. So round 1 to round 12, each level has 5 workouts: a full body, an upper body, a lower body, an ab, and a boxing workout, right? And it's like, lots of punching, and it's geared towards physical and mental fitness, as I've described. As well as that, I've got all the meals. Hundreds of meals on there, healthy for all that stuff, beautiful, really tasty meals. I've got a mental fitness section with, as I mentioned, my mental fitness experts, doctors of psychology, anxiety coaches, and more meditations. Really interesting, I guess masterclass, like seminars from top specialists in their field. And I've got the custom workout builder. I hear you, Simon. You're thinking, what's the custom workout builder? I'll tell you, mate. The custom workout builder is where you can create your own workout. So all my workouts are 7 minutes. If I didn't say, all 7 minutes, get in, get out, high intensity, round 1 to round 12. They go up through the levels, so each level gets a little bit harder. Round 12 is really hard. Round 1 is, it depends on your fitness level. You're working, but it definitely gets harder throughout the levels. And the custom workout builder is, you can create your own workout. So I think there's 94 pre-recorded 1-minute exercises or 50-second exercises. You can choose your own workout. Now, this will blow your mind. From the 94 50-second exercises that I've recorded, guess how many different combinations of workouts you can create in 7 minutes?
I wouldn't even know where to begin.
You can create over 2 billion different combinations of workouts from the exercises created. So you can very much be the architect of your own life. You can do a leg workout, an upper body workout, a boxing workout. You can mix and match as much as you want, different levels of difficulty. So that'll keep people busy, and you can choose workouts you like doing. You can choose ones you find difficult, more challenging. It's a whole mixed bag. But I've worked really hard on it the last year. I've invested a lot of money into it. I wanted to be really competitive with the price because I want this to be I mentioned my mum earlier, my hero, single parent, 5 kids. Dad pissed off when we were all young, worked full time. At one point, she was a psychiatric nurse and then a carer. She's a very caring person. And at one point, she became a dinner lady at our school because at one point, there's always 3 kids at the same school. And she got to see us during the day, while she was a carer in the morning, a carer at night time, like making packed lunches for us, making dinner. Amazing superwoman. She never invested in herself because she was so busy. She could have found 7 minutes a day to invest in herself. And I'm thinking, had she done that, would it stop their brain aneurysm, which would have been much more healthier? So I want this to be, accessible for CEOs, but also to single parents. 420 seconds of the most important 420 seconds of your day. Give it a go. ogogofitness.com and reach out to me. And it's brand new. Hence the 30% discount. It's brand new. These are gonna be the first people to work on it. It's getting iterated each week. We're making it better. I mean, it's great now, but we're making it better as we go along. And right now, because nobody's on it just yet, other than I think I've got 3 customers so far, I'm gonna be involved. Reach out to me. I'll be the person getting back to you on the DMs on Instagram, or Ogogo Fitness on Instagram, and the emails. This is very much my baby, this isn't some random person doing it. This is me, right? So I want people to become the greatest versions of themselves in just 7 minutes a day. So yeah, I'm really proud. Hopefully we're here again in maybe a year's time, maybe doing some stuff together.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm always happy for that. And I've had a look before we click record, and it is really swish.
Thank you.
It looks very good, super professional, super easy to use, super intuitive. So it's definitely worth shouting that out, and I'll put some links in the show notes.
Thank you, sir.
And if people want to find you mentioned on the Instagram as well, you mentioned the app's Instagram. What if people want to find you and about your story about the wrestling and AEW? Where are people finding Anthony Ogogo?
Anthony Ogogo, ANTHONY OGOGO on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok. I've got stuff on TikTok, on LinkedIn. Now I've been an entrepreneur, I've got to do the whole LinkedIn thing. So
I'm still not up to that.
Minefield. I can't get my head around it. I've bought some monthly thing for £100 a month. I don't understand it. I want to uncancel. I just don't know how to do it. So that's the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, AEW, we're on ITV here in the UK. I'm not too sure the networks, but I'm not sure if the days of that. I think they change them around. But ITV Dynamite, ITV Collision are mainly on AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision are mainly on Collision. We do AEW Rampage as well. So yeah, I'm about, and hopefully I did. So this year they're airing SES Who Dares Wins that I did last year.
Okay.
So that airs I think that airs in September. So the Celebrity SES Who Dares Wins. That was cool. That was fun. So it'll be interesting to see how I get on that. But yeah, man, do you know what? I mentioned at the very beginning, life is hard for all of us. We're all struggling. We're all kind of like fighting an uphill battle. But there's so much beauty in it. And the final story I'm going to say, right? Final story in this more like a live thing. I heard this 2 weeks ago. Do you know Luther?
Yes.
AEW. One of my best mates in AEW. I'm friends with all the weird ones. Like people, Jerry Lynn's my best mate. Me and Jerry Lynn are like best mates. Me and Luther are Lenny are best mates.
Fantastic wrestlers. They're both of them.
It's great guys as well. I was chatting to Luther the other day, and he used to live in a house with Chris Jericho when they were like 17, 18. There's like 8 of them, 6 of them, 8 of them in this house. And they're from the west coast of Canada. They'd travel 12 hours in the car, 6 of them in a 5-man car, all big wrestlers as well. They'd wrestle for $0, $25 or $50 and drive back. They'd lose money doing it, right? They'd in the cold in Canada, icy roads, horrible. They lived in this horrible little house. And that was shit, and it was miserable, and it was cold. I couldn't even afford the heating and stuff. They were eating crap because like they were all skint just to wrestle, right? It's really hard. Being independent is really, really, really hard. And then he said to me the other day, he went, he said, at the time he hated it because he was skint. And he was 18, he had no money, couldn't even go out and take a girl out on a drink. He went, looking back, they were the best days of my life. He's like, man, what I would do to go back, like you mentioned earlier, to go back and be as healthy as you are and fit as you are. He said, they're the best. He said, I wish I could appreciate those moments now. Now, he's at one of the biggest companies in the world. He's the valet for the females world champion. I'm sure earns really good money. He's got a position of power in AEW. And he said 30 odd years ago when he was a teenager, skint, broke, no money, traveling 24 hours to wrestle one match and get paid $25 was the best time of his life. And there's so much beauty in that. And it's about finding the beauty in the struggle. And there's always beauty in the struggle. And it's important that's what I'm doing now. My thing this year is this, trying to find the beauty in the struggle rather than being in 3 years' time and go, oh, that's actually really fun. And I know my story. When I first got to the Nightmare Factory, where I trained with QT and Cody and stuff in Atlanta, that first year it was amazing. It was great. It's not quite as good now. That it's still brilliant. The training is great, but that first year was so special. We trained 4 days a week, every single day. My body was so tired by Thursday. We were all kind of new learning together, and we all met up recently. We were in Buffalo recently last week, and there's a few of us because everyone's kind of like done the camp. They all buggered off to where they stayed for a year, then went back to their cities where they're from, and we really all meet up with each other now. And we look back and go, oh, it's amazing. Like that year, although it was hard and none of us really knew much, we all kind of learning together, it was so special. And there's beauty in starting again and being at the bottom. And it's about being able to kind of recognize that when you're in it, rather than only getting the appreciation years beyond. I know you're going for a tough time now, mate, but like, you know, as have I been, but like, try to find the beauty in the struggle now. You know, there's always something there.
I think that's a wonderful thing about entrepreneurship as well. I think that that's where you'll find this pursuit of doing this app really exciting, because everything you're doing is finding out more. I've been in the fitness industry 15 years, and I've been working with people, and it's been great. But now, like, I'm meeting more people, I'm learning, I'm trying out what stuff that works, I'm trying out new teaching styles. This is that time where you're thinking, oh my God, when's my next league coming in? Oh my God, are we have enough to make this app profitable? But you look back on that 5 years, like all the stuff you were learning, and you'll have this app in 10 years that's like 20 times what it is now, and you go, I'm so glad I went through that hard time when I was worrying about the next paycheck coming in, you know, and that sort of stuff. But mate, this has been absolutely excellent. I think, thank you so much for the time. And I suppose as we've got a hard cam, let's do the wrestling talk and do the YouTube thing. So as we say, go follow Anthony Ogogo on Instagram and go to his app. If you're still here, give us a like and subscribe on YouTube, Self-Made Podcast on all audio platforms, and Simon Kingsley Dutton on YouTube itself. But again, thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for listening to the Self-Made Podcast. If you're like me and like binge watching podcast episodes, click here to watch our latest episode. Or if you want to stay in touch and find out when the next episode goes live, click here to subscribe to the channel.